What's up, everybody? This is the Ike's Inspirations podcast, and today I have interesting guest. Chris is a software engineer. He's a data analyst. He's a content creator and a sickle cell warrior. So I have him on. And Chris, can you please do us a favor and introduce yourselves to the audience and what you're about, and give a brief summary of your life story?
So, see, my name is Chris. I was actually born in New Jersey, and eventually, after moving a couple places, I eventually moved to Florida, and that's where I went to college and did electrical engineering as my degree. But then while I was doing electrical engineering, I got into coding, and that's how I became software engineer and data analyst. For me, I'm one of those people. I really like building, and what attracted me to the software engineering field is that you could do it from home, which helps me out because I have sickle cell. So on days that I may not be able to physically be there, I could still be productive.
Yeah, man. And I love this, bro, because we have so much to talk about, man. I see a lot of myself in you. We're both sickle cell warriors. We have sickle cell disease. And I love what you said about how, like, allowing you to work from home is kind of better for your health. I'm a pharmacist, and I work from home too. And people are like, "What? How can you work from home as a pharmacist?" I realize how much like working from home helps me with my disease. It kind of allows me to kind of focus inward and not be too stressed out. So that's awesome, bro. First question I want to ask you, Chris, is what is your experience like with sickle cell disease been like?
It's a lifelong journey, man. I have had the privilege of being like cared for by nurses and doctors that really know their craft, as well as being cared for by doctors that have never heard of the disease. So it's like I've been through all the extremes, and I've dealt with it since I was a kid. And when I was a kid, I didn't really talk about it much because most people didn't understand it, and a lot of people around me, like I was the only one that had it. But luckily, my parents were able to get connected with the sickle cell support groups, and I was able to be around other people like me and faced a lot of the same struggles that I did. So I feel like that helped me out a lot. And yeah, it was hard going through school because sometimes I'd have to miss a day, or if I was really sick, it'd be like a month, and I'd be in the hospital, man. It was a struggle, but I had to work twice as hard when I was going through there, and I wasn't able to play sports. Like I used to play soccer a lot. I was in soccer, basketball, and I completely fell out of it when I started having a bunch of crisis.
Yeah, same, dude.
I still try to maintain active. Like I'm slowly starting to get myself back in that.
Dude, it's difficult, man. Bro, I fully empathize with you, dude. I know it's everything you're going through, and even more because I got my doctorate degree in college with pharmacy, and during those times I also had some sickle cell crises. And I when you say, I like to say warrior because I really feel like a warrior, because
it's a fight.
It's a fight, man. It's a fight, and I had to, even during those times, I could have chose to like take some time and let it pass, I was studying literally while going through crises, so I can make sure that I continue to succeed and get my degree. So even during those tough times, man, like trust me, I empathize with your pain, and I know how hard it could be, especially when you don't feel like you know anybody. And also with sports too, man. It's been crippling me with my basketball. And I actually just interviewed Billy Garrett. I don't know if you know who he is. He's the first NBA player with sickle cell disease.
Oh yeah, I saw the thumbnail. I haven't had a chance.
Yeah. I'm good. It's super inspirational, bro. But for people like me and you, like, you know how tough it can be to play sports and how that can be crippling psychologically to see somebody actually make it to the NBA with sickle cell. It's like, okay, maybe people like us can actually do it, man. So yeah, I love it, man. You know, the next question I want to ask you, Chris, is what has been the most difficult experience you went through, and how did you overcome it?
I'd say like my first year of college was probably the most difficult for me. That's because it's my first time being on my own, and I went out of state. I went to a northern state, and I know for me, cold weather is like one of my major triggers for sickle cell. So I didn't really know how to deal with that. I was in the hospital like every other month, man. So and my grades were dropping, so it was like I had to figure out. I had to figure out how I was going to navigate that whole situation.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening is I ended up transferring to a college back to Florida just because I knew for me it'd be easier.
Mm-hmm. Bro, dude, when you say cold weather is the trigger, man, bro, cold weather is such a trigger, bro. So yes. I don't know. I also think I'm African too. So I think I'm naturally used to the weather. I was born in Nigeria, but I grew up in Boston. I grew up in Boston for 23, 24 years of my life. And one of the main reasons why I left Boston was because, bro, it's just too cold up there, bro. And you said you're from New Jersey, so you know how it is. Then I ended up moving from Boston to Philadelphia, hoping that it would change. Go up there, you know what I'm saying? I was hoping it was gonna change, and like, yeah, it was like 5 to 6 degrees warmer, but it wasn't like that much warmer to make me happier. So I just recently moved down to Atlanta, and right now I'm in Atlanta, and I'm much happier with the change. I'm much happier with the change. I will say though, Atlanta is a lot more colder than you would expect it to be during like January and February. It's still a lot better than Boston and up north, but you have your surprisingly cold weather.
Yeah. I was up in the mountains near Atlanta around December.
Okay, so you know, yeah, you know, man. So, yeah, man, I'm glad to be connected with you.
I got a plane passing by.
Yeah, yo, it's all good. We'll let it do.
I'm outside right now.
yeah, man. So you know, when you were in college and you're kind of going through your hardships, like what demons were you like fighting? You know, because I know you have the sickle cell demons, and then probably have some self-doubt and stuff. Like,
I definitely had like the imposter syndrome as far as becoming an engineer. So, like, for me, that's never really gone away. It's just gotten easier to deal with over time.
Yeah.
And especially since I don't look like the typical engineer.
Oh, yeah, you don't.
So it's like I constantly got to prove myself to certain people.
Bro, look at me, bro. When was the last? Do I look like a pharmacist? Be honest. You saw me right now, and you looked at me. Will you be like, "Oh man, this dude is a pharmacist"?
You just look like a couple guys on a podcast, man.
Yeah, man. I do not look like a pharmacist either, and yeah, you definitely don't look like a typical engineer. So yeah. I understand how that imposter syndrome can be, man. I like what you said. Yeah, I think I have my fair doubts of bouts of imposter syndrome, but I think as you get older, it gets easier to deal with. But once you start something new, whether it's podcasting, content creating, going into college, you know, you're always going to be like, do I belong here? Am I really capable? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I understand, bro. I understand it, man. But the next question I wanted to ask you, bro, because one thing that you do that's really cool, and you know, one of the reasons why I started this podcast is honestly just an opportunity. I love to learn, bro, and I love to learn from anybody and everybody. Like, and I read a lot of books, man. And I still like books, but I feel like there's only so much you can learn from books. I like to have conversations with people because you can you can
Yes.
talk about a lot more
You have to
nuanced
apply
topics.
what you learned and share knowledge with other people.
Yes, yes. And so doing this podcast is improving my ability to communicate, but not only that, learn a lot of things. And right now, I was doing my research on you, and you know a lot about so much technical different things. And I'm kind of curious to learn about like your background as a software engineer. How did that come to be, and what's it like being a software engineer?
Well, that started in college. Uh, my actual degree is in electrical engineering, but for me, they teach us basic coding, but it's just like it's very low level programming. So I wanted to actually be able to build stuff with it. So I started buying books and taking courses online, and then I got into web development, and then on I just snowballed into building apps and data visualization, and it got to a point where I started taking on freelance gigs while I was in college, and it helped me to pay for my tuition and other expenses. And eventually, once I graduated, I didn't even have to look for an internship or anything because I already had experience and I already had a plethora of knowledge.
Yeah, 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 bro. That's so awesome, bro. So you pretty much got your experience while in college, and you didn't have to do any. You kind of allow you to jump at start everything in your career,
Yes.
which is really smart, bro. Because I think at the end of the day, whenever you're trying to look for a job or whatever, people just care if you can do it and have the experience.
Yes.
People don't really care about all the other like flake and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So. That's awesome, man. So this interview might get very technical, but I'm just kind of curious to learn about like how did you learn and go about learning how to code and develop those skills?
I started bare bones, and I bought a book in Python,
Yeah.
and between my classes, I decided, okay, I'm going to stop playing video games and I'm going to learn how to code. So I'm reading this book, I'm doing the coding exercises, and then I start going on YouTube and like, how do I build a website? And I start getting like friends and like some of my family members, they'd ask me, oh, can you build this for me? Can you build that for me? So it's like I started doing research, like, okay, now how do I build this? And so I started building little apps, and they got bigger and bigger and bigger, and to the point that eventually it became something that I could be employed for.
Dude, that's so cool, man. I've always I'm gonna be honest, bro. Like, so right now I'm a pharmacist, and it's cool. I'm not gonna act like it's the thing I'm most passionate about, but sometimes I do reflect, and I'm like, if I can go back to college and relearn a skill, what would it be? And honestly, I would go back in the technology field and try to learn how to code, because I think the coolest thing about coding is like the ability to create. Like, I think
Yes,
it's so
that's why I love
it's
it
so
so much.
creative, and like and like outside. I mean, and it's creative, and there's the potential to scale and be very lucrative. But outside of that too, you just can have so much fun building so much different things. And it looks like you have so many projects that you're doing that looks like incredibly interesting.
Well, like for me, most people, they look at it as a science, and so it's like you're pigeonholed in the nerd category. I look at it more as an art. So for me, I look at what do I want to create, and I just want to create because I'm a creative. I'm a creative person. I love just creating things, whether it's in tech or something completely different.
Yeah. I was watching a Mark Zuckerberg podcast, and he was talking about how he has a kid, and he's teaching his kid how to code, and he loves seeing the kid just be himself, because it was interesting to see how Mark compared it. You was basically saying it's like his kid is playing with Legos. I was like, what? Yeah. That's an interesting way of looking at coding. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to code. I feel like I should learn about it, or not even to do anything big, but just to kind of know what it's like and play with it, because it always seemed interesting. You can build websites, you can build so many different apps, and I've noticed that you are creating a real estate development app. Do you want to speak towards that? because that looks very interesting, and I would like to learn more about it too.
Okay, so that started because I have a friend, he's a real estate agent, and he knows that I'm getting into data science and stuff like that. So he sent me some spreadsheets because he needed the data cleaned up. So I cleaned up the data and I made a data dashboard in Power BI. And there's absolutely no code involved in that. It does all the stuff for you. It's mostly just using math and statistics for it, but you get a graphical user interface that shows you all the graphs and charts, so you could see what properties you have across America and the rooms that they have in it, what are the prices and the amount of people looking to buy for homes by state. And so I did that dashboard, and I'm constantly looking for new project portfolio pieces to do. So that kind of inspired me to go ahead and do the real estate app.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my own rudimentary version of Zillow.
Oh, wow, dude, that is so freaking dope, bro. Like, cause okay, I'm gonna tell you why I'm really excited about this, because I'm a real estate investor. I don't know if you ever knew that. I actually own 2 properties. I'm
That's
trying
awesome.
to expand my portfolio and hopefully keep building. And I'm also a real estate agent.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm using Zillow. I'm using Redfin. I'm using the MLS, bro. And, if I can learn about another app that's even more valuable, I'll be down to use that app too. You know what I'm saying? I'm always on Redfin and Zillow. What is it about your app that would provide value for real estate investors?
Well, right now it's more localized for my current area, so the Florida area, because the real estate market right now, everyone's looking to move to Florida right now.
Well, yeah.
So I know there's a lot of real estate agents, so everyone's trying to look for different avenues to sell their house.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes it less saturated if you're going off the major places like Zillow and just keep it to localized areas.
Yeah.
So far, I have it focused more for Florida, and I have some stuff built out for New York, but it's not all the way built out yet.
So is the app like localized for Florida essentially?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right now,
What's the name of the app? Yeah.
Well, right now I just have a placeholder name for it, but
Okay.
I'm calling it Data Door right now.
Yo, bro, man, let me know how that goes, man. Especially if you complete it, bro. I'm in the process of networking with a lot of different investors, and bro, who knows, man? Maybe they might find it interesting. But that sounds exciting.
Yeah, I like branching off into different industries, because when you build apps for different industries, you not only learn about coding or whatever, you learn about that actual industry.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first application that I built was for an online shoe store.
Wow.
I was never really a sneakerhead, but when I started building that app for that company, I knew about every sneaker within like the past 5 years, and I knew what was going to sell. I know what were the prices and all that.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. It wasn't the intent. It was kind of your love for coding and creating that kind of just brought you to a whole new industry, essentially.
Yep. That's correct.
Yeah, man. Yo, I wanted to ask you, because that is very interesting that you mentioned that a lot of people are moving to Florida for real estate and to optimize on real estate purchases. Do you want to speak towards that and why that seems to be the case? Because I've also been hearing about that.
I know big attraction is no state income tax, and there's a lot of construction going on here. So there's a lot of homes that need to be sold. So that's another reason why people are moving. And Texas as well, that's another state that has a similar landscape as far as real estate.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, that's awesome, man. So, bro, I mean, in regards to like the skills that you have learned as a developer, you learned Power BI, you learn SQL, you learn Tableau. I'm just kind of curious, how long does it take you to learn these skills and implement them? Because I'll be honest, there was a time between after I was studying pharmacy, I was curious in data analytics. I actually took like a Google certificate course because I just wanted to learn more about it. And I was playing with it for a couple of months. I've never actually really utilized it, but I remember I was learning SQL and data science and all that. And I'm just kind of curious, like how long did it take you to learn those skills and start implementing them?
Well, for me, I feel like it was more of an exponential journey. So the first few coding languages I learned, first few technologies, I should say, they took me months to learn. And then after I learned those first few, you start to realize, they all are basically the same language. They just have slightly different syntax. They may have a different data structure or different, like they may be optimized for something completely different. But once you learn those first 2 or 3 technologies, you could learn the rest of them in like a week.
Oh, okay.
I remember I had a company hire me. I told them I didn't know Ruby, but they wanted to try me out anyways. So within 2 weeks, I was coding on their production code base.
Yeah. Bro, that's awesome, man. So it seems like you have to be like quick on your feet when it comes to learning these things. Yeah, man. I mean, I can't be mad, bro, but there was a time I was trying to apply for some of these data analytic jobs, but just like with experience, like I only had a pharmacy background. I didn't have data analytics. So people were like, what kind of experience you have? And I was like, oh, I don't have any. And that was kind of like the hardest thing I was going through.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they ask me questions. They ask me like career related questions on like Facebook and stuff like that. And one of the things they say, they don't, like, it's hard to get an interview because I have no experience.
Yeah.
And that's literally what companies today, they're looking for is experience. They don't want somebody that's fresh out of college, or they don't want the person that's took a $20 Udemy course or whatever. Not a dig on them. They have some great information, but companies want to see what you can do.
Yeah. But then it becomes like some type of ironic thing because
it seems like it's gatekeeping.
Yeah.
It is kind of like gatekeeping, but that's why I tell people to build projects. Like, I have a friend, his wife is trying to get into software engineering, and she took a coding boot camp, and they didn't tell her any of the stuff that she needed to learn. So I'm over here trying to give her tips so she can land herself a job.
Yeah. It's like it's kind of like ironic because you need experience to get the job, but you don't have any experience, and but like, how are you gonna get the experience without the job? So it's kind of like what you said. You have to kind of give yourself the experience.
Yes,
like,
you have to build projects. What I did is how I got my first experience. It was kind of I built the small projects, but they weren't really necessarily enough to get me employed or anything. What got me employed is that I started going to small mom and pop businesses and advertising my services just for a couple $100. I'll build you a website, a couple $100, or I'll fix this issue.
Yeah.
And, some people I even did stuff for free just
to get the
have and I built a portfolio and say like, okay, these are the things that I've done, and now I could say, now I'm worth money.
Hey, you let them know you're a big dog.
Yeah.
I love it, bro. Yeah, I love it, man. This kind of reminds me of I used to do something called, because do you still freelance now or no?
I freelance on the side, but not as much anymore.
But you're a full-time software engineer,
Yes.
right? That's awesome. Yeah, dude, I used to do something called freelance. Well, I still do it here and there, but I used to do freelance medical writing. And that's like something in the healthcare field where essentially you're creating medical content for doctors, pharmaceutical companies, and other brands that may need the content. And I remember I was trying to get in the game too because they paid pretty well, and some of the gigs were paid $90 an hour or like a couple $1,000s for a project. And the way that I at first I was struggling because again, where's your experience? How long have you been doing this? And yeah, I don't have any experience, but I'm capable. And you have to kind of, prove to yourself and all that. What I did to kind of get in the game and have people start giving me gigs was I created my own website. And, and at the time it was called ikesmedicalwriting.com. And it had all my portfolio and all the type of work that I did, showing people that, hey, yo, I am capable, and I would market my most impressive pieces of content. And then I think people kind of started to take me more seriously because it's like, oh, wow, this guy created a website, and I've noticed you did yours too, chrisnortonjr.com. Then you created your own website.
That's common in the software engineering field. They say,
I would imagine,
to get a job, especially when you're at the beginning of your career, to have a web portfolio. As you get more experience, it becomes less important. But for me, I want to maintain my portfolio for the long run, just because I have a mentor, and he always is telling me, you want to be more than just a guy that is a developer. You want to establish a personal brand. That's why I started content creation online, and that's why I maintain my portfolio website.
Yeah, you and I are on the same level in that regards. Recently, like the last 2 to 3 months, I've been super, super intentional about creating a personal brand. And part of this personal branding I'm doing is doing this podcast where I get to network and communicate with people from all over the world, just doing interesting things. And then I think you're familiar with my sickle cell channel too. And I'm pretty much in the personal brand, just creating things that I'm passionate about and redefining myself through that personal brand. And, I think I look at it as like a long-term project. Like this isn't something that's gonna just like immediately blow off and like make me a lot of money. It's kind of like, you lay a brick once a week or here and there, one post a day or however, whatever pace works for you until, things really finally start working out in your favor,
Yeah, for me, it's like I try to look at long-term, big picture type thinking. So like for me, my route that I want to go down eventually is like an entrepreneurial route.
Cool.
So for me, I feel like having a personal brand is a necessity for that sort of thing.
Sure.
And also just being able to build in public, like on all the Twitter communities there. If you're in tech, you're on Twitter, there's a huge tech community on Twitter, and everyone's always just like build in public.
Yeah.
So that's where I started posting about my projects and giving little tips online for other people that may be coming in after me.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting how like nowadays, like if you don't have a social media, it's kind of like it feels like you're behind the game. And like, you know what I'm saying?
It's a free marketing tool.
Yeah, it's a free marketing tool, man. And I love that you're saying that. As much I don't like being a consumer of social media, but I like being a user and using it as a tool. So I have my YouTube channel, I have my LinkedIn, I have my Twitter, and I'm being intentional about posting on all those platforms to further promote myself and ultimately meet people like you, bro. Honestly, this is one of the coolest things about creating content is you get to start to meet like-minded people, bro. And doing stuff like my sickle cell channel or this podcast makes these moments worth it. Like the fact that I got to meet you, man, like this is dope, bro. All simply because I started creating content, you know what I'm saying? And you never know where that content you create will lead you to.
I feel like channels like yours are important just because sickle cell doesn't get the attention that some like leukemia or something else may get. So people have to know about it. And And I know when I tell people I have sickle cell, most people, they don't even believe it because I don't look sick.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it's a weird thing. People are sometimes people don't even know what it is. People are like, is it contagious? Like, oh, what is it?
I had to explain to one of my coworkers what it was.
Yeah, and people often give you like that, like, what is it, or like, why should I care? And and hence, why I started
look at you like you're gonna die or something.
Because there's so much ignorance behind it. And that's one of the reasons why I felt compelled to create my own sickle cell with Dr. O channel, because, I kind of want to be a leader for people in that community. And I feel like, part of personal branding is kind of promoting yourself and putting yourself in a place where you can be of influence to people. And, it's a journey in itself, learning how to create content, how to market to people, what people are into. It's a whole journey in itself. Yes. But I'm learning to just enjoy the process and not take it so seriously that I start to feel burnt out or it feels like another job,
Yeah, just like have it more about the journey and less about the destination.
Yes, yeah. And this is part of the journey, bro. Like, what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, I'm grateful I get to speak to Chris Norton and learn about software engineering, because I've always wanted to dive into that type of tech thing, bro. So, one thing I wanted to ask you, because, you got your real estate development app. I'm just curious, do you own real estate too? Or no?
No, I eventually do plan on getting into it.
Oh, okay.
Right now, I'm more into the stocks and crypto scene.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool, man. Yeah, man. Bro, I've noticed that you're into investing, bro. So I was like, okay, man, like I see what kind of things invest stuff are you interested in? Like in investments, yeah.
Well, I mainly invest in like mutual funds, ETFs, stuff like that. And then when the companies I work for, I make sure I invest in their stock if I feel like they're profitable. They usually are.
Yeah. And do they give you public stocks, I would imagine, too, and stuff?
Yeah, they give you the employee discount stocks.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, bro. I saw that you you know a lot about investing. You read some investing books, and I kind of wanted to ask you, what are your your top 3 favorite books on investing, or just your top 3 favorite books in general?
Well, I have a lot. The Intelligent Investor.
Cool.
I like that one. Just
by Benjamin Graham, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I love that. I read that book.
It's a very long read. It's not something you just sit down and knock out in a weekend or whatever.
When I finished reading that book, I think it was the longest book I've ever read. I think it was like 600, 700 pages. I felt so freaking smart. I was like, bro, like I felt accomplished, bro. I remember reading that book and having that feeling of like, yeah, I'm a smart dude. I know it's kind of superficial, but that's how I felt,
For investing, I think that's probably one of my favorite books, just because there's a plethora of knowledge. And the thing is, it's not a new book. It's been around for a while.
It's time tested.
Yes. And then Common Sense and Mutual Funds, that's another one I think is really good. I tell all my friends that want to learn about finance to read that one first, because it's a way easier read. You'll learn a lot. Let's see. There's Richest Man in Babylon.
Bro, I love that book, bro. I freaking love that book, bro. I'm so glad that you read it. Yeah. That book definitely
short read. So that's for someone who's getting their feet wet, I give them that one.
Yeah. The Richest Man, and then we could talk about both books, The Richest Man in Babylon and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I feel like that's
another one.
That's a book everyone in finances loves to talk about. Yeah, the reason why I love The Richest Man in Babylon is like it's a story, so it's kind of like it's not just like
it's not just giving you numbers and stuff.
Yeah,
it's an actual narrative.
And I have to get back to it, but the thing I loved about the book was just falling in love with the process of saving and gradually investing. That was the biggest thing I got from that book. And I loved how like there was a part in the book where I think back then they didn't have banks or bank accounts or anything. They had like solid pouches of gold, and this guy was like, bro, I'm looking at my like gold pouch, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And he's like, I love this feeling. And like, I don't know, it stuck out to me. But nowadays, obviously, we be looking at our bank accounts, and that's like, but it just kind of helped me to like remember the importance of saving. That's kind of the biggest thing I took from that book.
Well, I always tell people to have 6 months to a year of emergency funds that you never touch. Like, that's like, unless like you need emergency surgery or your car breaks down or something, don't touch that money ever.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And I'm glad that you and I like similar books when it comes to finances. I'm hoping that we can continue to apply that knowledge and grow as we get older and wiser. I also want to ask you, because I saw that you met Dave Chappelle, and I was like, what the hell? Like, dude, Dave Chappelle is my favorite comedian. He just dropped something called The Dreamer.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Very good special. Very introspective guy. I freaking love introspective people. I might have an obsession with introspection. I'm always introspecting and thinking about how I can be a better man.
That's why people love this community.
Yeah, and he does that. He does it in such a way that is funny and interesting. And it's something that I kind of wish I can harness some of that, because although I do find introspecting interesting, it's not something that the general public is interested in, like doing or kind of having conversations about. Yeah. He does it in a way that makes it so funny and entertaining and like and engages the audience. It's kind of a skill I want to develop in myself.
Yeah, what draws people to him is that he'll make you laugh, but he also makes you think about social and societal issues.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like I like being around people like that just because you're able to have the hard conversations that a lot of people may not be able to have at work or around certain dinner conversations.
Yeah, bro. And like the coolest thing about comedy, I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm a funny person. Some people think I'm funny. I don't know. But like one of the coolest things about comedy is I feel like you can literally get away with saying anything if you're funny.
Yeah.
No one's going to take it personally.
If you're funny,
even if you're telling the truth or the message. And I think that's such a powerful skill. Like, you can just say anything to anybody and deliver it in a way, if it's funny, like, they're not going to take it personally.
Comedians are today's truth tellers, I should say, because they don't have to have a filter. They don't need to worry about political correctness so much and not offending people. Like, their job is literally to trigger people.
Yeah. What a gift in itself, man. Yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't watch so much comedy, but I do have a respect for the art. I think it's a very difficult thing to do, to make people laugh and not be so triggering that people try to cancel you. But finding the balance is definitely a skill in itself.
Well, for them, it's like, that's what they're paid to do. So you come there, you're meant to take down your walls and connect with the people around you. Is like, yeah, this is something that we might get mad or argue about outside, but at this comedy club, we're all just gonna laugh about it.
Yes, yeah, exactly, bro. And I think, honestly, the world needs a lot more of that.
Yes,
just joy, happiness, like laughing. We don't need none of the BS that comes with the stress of life and all.
Try to divide each other by politics and race and all these other different subgroups, but it's all just in our head.
Yeah, man. And so I love Dave Chappelle. I love everything that he stands for. Bro, and in regards to because I do want to. I keep trying to pick on your tech brain. Can you just talk about AI and what are your thoughts on AI and in it? And how do you think it could potentially impact the future?
Right now, AI is in its infancy. A lot of people, they're worried about, tech's going to take all of our jobs. And yes and no. That's my answer for that. Yes and no, because it's the exact same as the Industrial Revolution. They came out with a bunch of machines that replaced people's jobs, but they also created a whole lot of new ones. And I believe AI is going to do the exact same thing because, I'm actually working with AI through Microsoft. And one of the things they talk about is having integrity with the AI. They don't want to build something that's going to just take over somebody's job completely. And they don't want to they're not trying to build the doomsday robots or whatever. Mm-hmm. The AI that they're focusing on are tools to basically automate the rudimentary tasks. Like if you're talking about data entry or even very low level coding, like most software engineers, they're worried about AI taking their jobs, but the stuff that we do, AI hasn't and probably won't for another 5-10 years be able to even replicate it.
Yeah, so a lot of people worry about, I don't know, it's an interesting thing because a lot of people worry that AI is going to start taking over the world. And, you know, I'm sure you've heard.
It's going to be involved in everything. But
yeah,
at the same time, the only people that I feel like are going to be left behind are the people that aren't learning how to use it. Yeah. So if you're a content creator, then you should probably learn about the ChatGPT's Sora thing that creates the videos for you and the text generation if you're a writer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's either you can either let it beat you or you can use it. You know what I'm saying?
It's more about just keeping up with the times. That's all it is, really.
Yeah, it's kind of like social media and the older generations. I feel like like right now, if you don't have a social media or if you're not really marketing yourself or keeping up with the times,
if you're in a professional field, you have.
It's kind of weird, but for an example, like if you're applying for jobs or if you have freelance gigs and if you don't have any type of profile, like a LinkedIn profile. Nowadays, that's a red flag. Whether that says anything about you or not.
I start being a scammer or something.
Yeah, like it's kind of a weird thing. And so it's almost a necessity to brand yourself, like, you know, whether we like it or not. And that's something that I'm kind of coming to grips about and learning about myself and doing this need for the personal brand, because it almost seems like you could be a scam if you don't have it.
That's the other thing. I feel like it also makes you more employable because they look you up. Okay, all these people are following this person, so they vouch for this person's skills.
Yes.
So it's less legwork done by me. Like I don't have to dig into them as much because I already know who they are and what they do.
It's a form of social validation, essentially. Yes. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of just a proof that you can do what you say you can do. So yeah, bro, I definitely I agree with you. I think AI is honestly just a tool that we should be learning how to use instead of being scared of it.
Yeah.
Bro, I freaking love ChatGPT, bro. I think I don't use ChatGPT enough, but back when I was doing freelance medical writing gigs, I think a lot of older folks who don't know how to use ChatGPT will ask me to do something that ChatGPT would have me do in like a couple minutes. And I would just go in, have ChatGPT do it, kind of edit it out, you know, and make sure everything is good and more personalized towards what they're doing. And I just use it as a tool, bro. You know what I'm saying? To kind of help me complete my tasks. And I agree, bro. I think AI is just gonna be another tool for us to use. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely it's here to stay. We've already opened that can of worms.
Yeah. Now it's gonna do it. But then I don't know, when there's people like the Elon Musk of the world and who also obviously uses AI, but like starts to kind of get very gloomy about how if it doesn't get regulated, then we're all kind of screwed.
Well, that's the whole thing. A lot of these companies, their AI rollouts, they are building them with certain ethical codes in mind, especially Microsoft. That's why I go with them, because they have very strong ethical principles. Like we're not going to build something that portrays inaccurate information on purpose. We're not going to have it discriminate against people by age, gender, or sex, or whatever your orientation is. Like it doesn't, like they're building it so it's fair and responsible for everybody.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the cool things about technology that I actually found really fascinating and cool. Because technology knows color, it kind of is a combatant of racism. Like,
Yes.
I don't know, it's like a weird thing, but it seems like you see that too. But like, because like, you know, whatever your code and doesn't care if you're black or white, it kind of gives everybody an equal opportunity to succeed. And I felt like that's why crypto became such a huge like thing, because everyone liked how like it was almost like a revolutionary battle against the corporations and whatnot. Now there's like you can decentralize and you can't institutionalize certain like racist
there's certain practices
the
once you develop a system, the system doesn't care who you are or where you're coming from, as long as you follow the rules. That's all it cares about. Whereas in a human controlled environment, you have to think about, they have different feelings towards you, have different thoughts, they may make different assumptions about you. So there's all these other variables, and you have to basically not only be skilled enough for the job, but you have to make them like you.
Yeah. And then it gets really like weird. Like, is it more about the metrics and how capable are you of the job, or is it like, are you liked, and how good are you ability to communicate? And it's a weird thing. And I'm sure a lot of people in the tech field have that issue of communicating themselves or marketing themselves, because I'm sure there's a lot of people who just like to create, focus, and just code and not have to talk to anybody. You know what I'm saying?
I always say the best coders in the world you'll never see. They're always some guy packed away in the corner that will never see the light of day. And the thing is, he's happy there. He doesn't want to go outside. He just wants to sit in front of a computer, tap away his computer and drink his Monster Energy or whatever. But we need those people too, though.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beauty of the world, bro. And like, there's some people who are great at coding like you. There's some people who are great at communicating and are marketing. And there's some people who, everyone has their own different types of skill sets that allows us to all ultimately work together.
It's like I try to learn a little bit about everything.
Yeah.
I don't want to just stick to being just the code guy. Like, that's when I started learning. I learned email marketing, graphic design, and just like there's different industries that you can apply these skills to, and you grow internally as a person because you learn something from somebody else that you didn't know before.
And that's why one of the reasons why I was so excited to talk to you, because you seem like you're so versed in so many different technical aspects that I think is really dope. One of the reasons literally why I started this podcast, bro, is because I'm obsessed with learning, bro. Like, and I just kind of want to be a lifelong learner. And if I didn't talk to you, I wouldn't have learned all these things about software engineering and how you can implement that for yourself and use it as a freelancer. And it's not even about how it can immediately help me now. It's just good to have that knowledge and be able to internalize it and kind of use it. You never know when you might need it, or even just the human connection that was created from this conversation.
I believe in the future, as far as coding goes, I feel like that's going to become on the same level as maybe knowing Microsoft or Excel.
Yeah.
Every industry is going to use it at some point.
Yeah, no, bro, I see it, bro. I can definitely see it, and that's why sometimes I wish, like, I should get on this and learn too.
But the thing is, you're not going to have to learn the way guys like me learn.
Yeah,
because we have AI now.
Yeah,
they'll do a lot of it for you.
Yeah. There's it's kind of like funny. It reminds me of back in the day when we when you were creating websites back then were so much harder. Like you had to, I didn't know I don't know the intricacies of creating a website, but I know you had to learn all these types of way of coding and whatnot. Now you can just go on Squarespace, or you can just go just create it in like a couple minutes, and like that's what I did, but it's kind of like, it kind of speaks to your point where everything kind of slowly gets easier and easier and easier. Yeah. Same thing with AI. Yeah. So, bro, man, like it's definitely something that's very intriguing to see and learn about, man. Yo, before we end this podcast, bro, I was gonna say, is there anything else that you feel obligated to say to the audience, or kind of give some words of inspirations to, whether somebody might be an inspiring software engineer or some type of tech creator, or trying to learn any technical skills to better themselves? Do you kind of have any words of inspirations for them, or even sickle cell warriors, man? Like, just anything to help somebody, to help out.
I just like, I would tell everyone, no matter whether you have a tech background or you have something completely different, always be creating, producing something. Find your thing, whatever it is, and just cling to it. And if whatever you're going through, keep pushing. You're not alone, and you don't have to be alone if you feel alone.
Yeah, bro. That's awesome, bro. We are always, one of the purpose of this podcast is to help people discover, create, and live their own purpose. Yes. And I think if more people can do that, a lot more people will feel a lot more happier and fulfilled with the work they're doing, and it will kind of permeate throughout the world, So, I just want to say, I'm going to end this podcast with a quote, and it's by the author of The Alchemist, called Paulo Coelho. He says, "Dreams are the language of God." I just love that. Yeah, man. Yo, Chris, man. Honestly, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I'm definitely gonna stay in touch, and thank you for your time.
Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, man.